We're continuing. We're back on our series on faith. So this is our second lesson.
Okay.
On favor, I mean. It's our second lesson on favor. Last week we talked about what is favor. I'll summarize that.
Yeah.
Favor means to give special regard to someone, to treat with goodwill, to show exceptional kindness to someone. Favor can be considered preferential treatment. We discussed the correlation between faith and favor. We saw that prior to Satan's intervention, Job had a hedge of protection around himself and his household.
Yeah.
This is what allowed him to be so prosperous. Job had favor prior to the incident with Satan, so much so that Satan had to get permission to even interfere with Job. We then looked at the story of the Israelites when they made a calf out of gold and they worshipped it. God got so upset that he was going to kill them because of the adultery they had, but Moses convinced them not to. Moses' favor allowed him to intercede in the lives of others. This showed that the highly favored can plead for mercy on behalf of others. This showed that even though the Jews were God's chosen people and they were favored, some of them, like Moses, were more highly favored than others.
Yeah.
We saw that Moses never used his favor to request anything for himself. He never received material gain due to his favor. Moses had a heart for the things of God's heart. Moses chose to suffer along with the other Israelites rather than enjoy a pleasurable life. So the question is, can we say the same about ourselves? We want to suffer along with the other Christians. And then one clarification I'll make from the last lesson, I talked about Protestants and mentioned that they were the non-Catholic Christian denominations were Protestants. And so there are also other non-Catholic, non-Christian denominations as well. So there are other denominations that are neither. So, because we're considered Western Christianity, but it's not because we're in America, because the Roman Catholic Church is also considered Western Christianity. Because in that it was just in that region, Rome was on the west, and then the east side. So there's Eastern Christianity, which are the Orthodox Christianity. There's Greek Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox, Ethiopian Orthodox, Oriental Orthodox, and they all claim to be the original church founded by the apostles and Paul. So they all claim to be the original church. So Catholics claim to be the original church. These churches also claim that they're the direct descendants of the original churches. So just clarification from that last week. So today we get into what is favor. So I guess we'll alternate the verses since we didn't get them out. I guess we'll let you start when we get to it, Eric. And then, so who does God favor? Who does God favor? The favor of God can be described as tangible evidence that a person has approval from God. This doesn't mean that everyone who's prosperous or healthy has favor from God. And it also doesn't mean that everyone that has favor will never go through difficulties. So many people in the Bible who God favored, they also suffered hardships. So the question is, are all Christians favored? You guys think all Christians are favored?
That depends. They lack faith. Some who are faithful, they have favor. When they're faithful to God and keep God's commands, they're faithful. For those who may lack it, really don't do it, see how can be favored with God. That's what I say.
Okay.
I want to say yes, but I also want to say that there's like a possibility that the levels of favor differ.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's all I'm trying to get. Yeah.
Okay. So can non-Christians be favored by God?
Could you call that favor by God? I don't know.
I would say that too. I don't know.
Okay. So what are some of the benefits of being favored?
I feel like there's certain situations where you're favored by people that don't even understand why they're doing it. It's like there's a third source. I mean, the outside source, which is God, the Holy Spirit, right? That
Yeah.
it's almost it's incomprehensible for people, for the human mind, but it just happens. And you could be favored in certain situations where like there could be non-believers and they just do it and they don't know what comes over them, but they're just led to do something.
Okay. So there's a lot of the like the prosperity doctrines teach that your favor will bring you wealth and health and success. So you can consider being favored in relationships, family, lack of drama, or favor as being access to God. Or what you talked about, being favored by man as well, being favored by God and man. Okay.
You can be fair. Also, you can be fair by God if even someone may do you wrong, and all of a sudden it's like Maria said, they find a way to bless you with a word or something. They may give you an apartment. They may not live in a more cheaper rent. You're looking for a place. You've been with God for years, looking for a place, and all of a sudden they call you or something and say, "Here, I got a place for you.
Right.
Can you afford the rent?"
Yeah. Something that shows up that's not naturally wouldn't happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah. I think God pours favor on those who don't know Him.
Or, and it's so exact. Like it's so exact to the point that what you need that you're like, this can't be not God.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. So Proverbs 22:1 says, "A good name is to be more desired than great wealth. Favor is better than silver and gold." So it's saying a good name, a good reputation is more desired than great wealth. So you should want a great name more than you want wealth. Favor is better than silver and gold. If you're going on a job interview, is it better to have experience or favor?
Favor.
Both.
Both. Yeah, both. Yeah.
Both will help.
Yeah.
So I remember an example talking about, I talked about when I had started my, like kind of a consulting company. Or I started independent consulting, and then I tried to bring on other independents. So the company I first started contracting at, I developed a relationship with a director, and I was supposed to be there for the design phase, and then they wanted me to stay on through the implementation phase. So I was telling them, okay, you need to hire 2 developers with this certain skill, and it was the skill that the company I was trying to start that we specialized in. So I told her, you need to hire 2 people, and I said, and I have a resume that I'll bring to you that you can bring on. And so it was somebody that was in my company. And then, so the next day I came back, I gave her the guy's resume, and she said, okay, I have 3 resumes, and so I'll need to interview them all. I said, okay, yeah, so that's fine. She said, would you mind interviewing them? It's like, sure. I'll interview them. So, I called the guy up, like, all right, this is what we're looking for. These are questions I'm going to ask you.
Oh, wow. And you knew one, yeah?
Huh?
You knew one of them, you said?
Well, no, he was working for my company, so so he was actually coming through, my company, and so, so I knew him.
Oh, that's right.
And so, you think he got the job?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, he got it. No, but he was the best candidate too.
Do you think, I don't know, it just sounds crazy, right? Do you think favor is just favor? Or does favor have anything to do with our obedience to God?
Our being what?
Obedience to God.
Obedience to God?
Like say, there's certain thing God tells, God challenges you to step out of your comfort zone, to apply for a job, to start something new, to take a risk, to ask for forgiveness. Okay, God, He prompts you, like the Holy Spirit, right? And then if you're obedient, then God's favor comes. Or is there something completely separate? Like, do we have nothing to do with, putting our part, taking a risk? I don't know. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I think obedience plays a factor.
Right?
And actually, today we're going to look at 7 things
that are factors?
that play factors in favor.
Okay.
So we're going to look at 7 things that factor into favor.
Okay, cool.
So the first one is righteousness. So righteousness is being in good moral standing, behaving morally. Psalms 37:16 and 17 said, "Better is the little of the righteous than the abundance of the wicked. For the arms of the wicked will be broken, but the Lord sustains the righteous." So it's saying the little of the righteous is better than the abundance of the wicked. So this is saying the little is better than the lot. So that must mean that whatever this is, the little or lot, can't be what you're measuring better by. So it's not the stuff. So it's kind of questions, how do we measure favor? When we look and see someone is favored, a lot of times we look at, the prosperity or the monetary possessions. But this is saying the little of the righteous is better. So that means that's not what God's measuring it by.
Right.
So we can't look at that as a determination of favor if that's not what God uses. And so it says the arms of the wicked will be broken, meaning that, but the Lord sustains the righteous. The arms of the wicked will be broken, so they'll lose their ability to make the abundance. So at some points they won't have the ability to make whatever it is the abundance is, the prosperity anymore, the wicked. You have Psalms 5:12. Eric?
Psalms 5:12. Alrighty. Got it. Surely, Lord, you bless the righteous. You surround them with favor as with a shield.
Okay, so again, it's a righteous man. God surrounds them with favor like a shield. So we saw that with Job prior to the destruction. It said he had a hedge of protection around him. So God says the righteous, so for the righteous, those who follow the law, those who are obedient, that God so protects them. So there are things that they don't have to go through. So there are things that would have happened that God is protecting them from. God prevents things from happening to them. And so, if I think about like my childhood growing up, I think it was some favor involved because I never had any childhood diseases. I never broke a bone. I grew up in South Central where a lot of gangs and guns shooting and everything. I never got beat up, never got punched in a fight.
You never got threatened to be in the gang.
I never got threatened to be in the gang. No, I got offered to be in the gang.
Not pressure.
But yeah, they didn't really do that. That was not the gangs in LA at least.
San Francisco, they did.
It was kind of the opposite. It was more people would pretend to be in the gangs. They weren't in the gangs. So
it probably make you go over there. They won't.
Well, they're trying to, because like it was kind of in some sense prestigious to be in the gang, because like, that was a tough guy, and so like some of the women liked it, so people would pretend to be in the gang just to they thought it was cool. They thought it was, they were in the gang. So yeah, so the righteous will have a shield around them, and the righteous will be favored by God. So God will give preferential treatment to the righteous. So then the question is are Christians automatically considered righteous? So the righteous get the favor from God. Does being a Christian automatically include you as the righteous?
Yeah, I say yeah.
Okay. So last week we looked at the doctrine of predestination, which claims that God chose us and we didn't choose them. So if that was true, then that means there definitely would be favor. But let's see, outside from that. So Romans 4:5-8 says, "But to the one who does not work, but believes in him who justifies the ungodly, his faith is credited as righteousness. Just as David also speaks of the blessing of the man to whom God credits righteousness apart from work." So it says, but to the one who does not work. So what does that mean? So is it talking about somebody who's unemployed? No, it's,
No, it's not an employee.
It's or like the one that how would you say does not do their part. Or like,
what's talking about the works. So it's you know, are we saved by grace or are we saved by works?
Oh, okay.
So works
Great.
meaning following the law.
Oh, yeah.
obedience.
Be-
Obedience, yeah.
Obedience to the law.
To the
Yeah, so
law.
doing the 10 Commandments,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
not sinning. That's the work. So it says to the one who does not work, but believes in him who justifies the ungodly. So who is it that justifies the ungodly?
The righteousness.
Well, so the ungodly, so justified meaning you're just,
Yeah.
you are not guilty of anything, but they're ungodly, so they're not just. But so who is it that makes the just? Yeah,
Jesus makes sense. Yeah.
So the one who does not work, but believes in Jesus, his faith is credited as righteousness. Just as David also speaks to the blessing of the man to whom credits righteousness apart from works. Blessed are those whose lawless deeds have been forgiven and whose sins have been covered. Blessed is the man whose sin the Lord will not take into account. So it says, blessed is the man whose credit, so it's saying the person who doesn't do the work, so the person who still sins but believes in Jesus, his faith is credited as righteousness. So it's like when they have those car commercials. They say you want to buy a car, you have bad credit, you got a job, your job is your credit.
Yeah.
So your job is your credit. They're saying even if you have bad credit, that if you have a job, will treat you like you have good credit. So they're saying even though your credit doesn't qualify you for the loan, the fact that you have a job will let that qualify you. So your job is your credit. So this is saying your faith is your righteousness. So it's saying even the person who sins, who commits the lawless deeds, who is still sinning, their faith is counted as righteousness. So it's saying that because you believe in Jesus, God, your count as righteousness, whose sins have been covered. And blessed is the man whose sin the Lord will not take into account. So it's saying because you have faith in Jesus, the sins you commit, God won't take those into account. So it'll be the same as if you didn't sin. So your faith is counted, is credited as righteousness. So it's just like your job is your credit, your faith is your credit, is your righteousness. So it's saying that you are righteous if you believe in Jesus, because your sins will be forgiven. I mean, that's the only way you can have eternal life, because you need to be righteous to have eternal life. But we've all sinned, but the faith makes it as if we didn't sin. So it's saying that we are righteous. Christians are righteous. And so before we saw that, okay, the righteous are favored. So this is saying Christians are righteous. So then we can say that, okay, Christians are favored. But then some would argue that there's two types of righteousness. There's positionally righteous and there's relationally righteous. So positionally righteous means because of my status, my standing, I'm righteous, which is Christianity. Because I'm a Christian, I have the status of a Christian, so I'm righteous. Relationally righteous meaning because of my behavior, I'm righteous. So you can be positionally righteous, but have a strained relationship with God because of sin. So an example would be if you had a son, and you told your son to take out the trash before you got home. And you get home, and you see the trash isn't out. And then you walk in, and you see him in his room playing video games. And you say, why didn't you take out the trash? He says, oh, I forgot. For the 12th time. So
he didn't get to play the video game.
So he's still your son.
Yeah.
So being your son, he has favor from you. Being your son, you love him. Being your son, you're going to make sure nothing happens to him.
Right.
Being your son, he has a special favored treatment, a favored position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But at this moment, there's a strain in your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So that wouldn't be the best time for him to say, "Can I have a new bicycle?"
No.
So he's favored.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little question about it. So we have the positionally righteous status as Christians. How does that impact our favor, or are we always favored? And if we ask the question of is it a requirement to be a Christian to be favored? We saw that Paul said Abraham's faith was counted as righteousness. So Abraham was considered righteous. Abraham wasn't a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know Abraham wasn't a Christian?
No, I didn't know that.
Well, Christ wasn't born yet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He Old
He's such a
Testament.
good guy though.
He was a good
He was a nice guy. Yeah.
And we know Moses had favor.
Yeah.
So-
yeah, he did all right.
So, could things have changed since Jesus was born? Like possibly, but so all of the 7 things that we're going to look at were from the Old Testament. So these 7 things that God favored you for were counted also towards the Old Testament people. Okay,
You're
so
still on number 1, right?
number 1,
Okay.
righteousness. So number 2 is seeking good. You have Proverbs 11:27.
I will.
So
Oh,
seeking good.
let's see. Yes. Whoever seeks good finds favor, but evil comes to one who searches for it.
All right. So those who always want good things to happen get favor from God. Those who want bad things to happen, bad things will happen to them. So
I'm sorry. I wonder if it has to do too, kind of like when you walk in obedience, you just get peace. You automatically feel peace. So you're in a peaceful state of mind. But when you're doing evil, you're walking around like guilty or ashamed, and I wonder if that has anything to do with it. That's what made me think of it.
Yeah. So that's the first one, righteousness. So this isn't doing good. This is your seeking good.
Seeking good.
So you want good things to happen. So you want good things to happen for yourself, but you want good things to happen for other people too. So it's not necessarily tied to your obedience or righteousness. It's kind of just tied to, do you always want good things to happen? And so an example would be, I remember I was walking with somebody once and I saw somebody, dropped a piece of paper and they kept walking. So I ran over there and picked up the paper and gave it to him. The person I was with was like, "Oh, you just Mr. Goody Two Shoes, huh?" Like it wasn't because it's like I'm thinking, it may have been an important piece of paper. And they're like, "Oh, it's probably just a receipt." But it was like, I wanted good for them. I wanted good for them. So what does that look like? Wanting good. Do you want the best for everyone? Or do you intentionally start trouble? It's like, do you spread gossip?
Like hate on people remember we were talking about when something good happens to them?
Yeah.
Like
When
hating
somebody's
on
good
them?
happen to them, do you want? It's like, are you happy? Are you happy when your coworker gets a raise? Do you want good for your coworker? If all your coworkers got a raise except you, would that be a good thing, or would that be a bad thing? Do you want? Would you be happy when your coworker got a raise? Would you be happy when your best friend gets a new job, or would you be happy when a person who's not that good of a friend gets a good job, a new job? Do you withhold information that can help someone? Do you set people up to fail? Are you happy when your friends get married if it's before you? Are you happy when you see other people succeed? So do you want good for people even when it doesn't benefit you in any way, or even when that person maybe has nothing to do with your life? Do you want good for that person? It has nothing to do with you at all, but are you hoping for good for other people?
Well, if you're praying for them, and you want them to have that type of thing happen in the season of their life, yeah,
Yeah, so if you're praying for them,
Absolutely.
then you definitely want good for it.
definitely.
And the question is like, are you praying for your coworkers, the ones you don't like, to get a raise? Are you praying, or to
Peace
get
in
a,
their
or to
home.
get
That's
a,
my
to get a better position? Are you,
Yeah.
you know, do you want bad things? And so it's saying if you want bad things to happen to people, then evil will come to you.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
So if you kind of hope, you know, some people kind of, secretly are happy when they hear somebody bad thing happens to somebody else. It makes them feel like, oh, my life isn't so bad.
Well, Burns been lifted off. That's what they had a grudge against.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one level.
Yeah.
But even if it's, somebody you don't like, definitely. But if it's somebody who you don't really like or dislike, do you want good things to happen to them? It's
Yeah.
like, not do you not mind, but do you
Desire
like not do
that.
you not mind, but do you want good things to happen? You know, are you happy if someone says, "Hey, I just won the
Genuinely
lottery.
happy.
I won the lottery,"
Oh yeah, generally.
and then
Yeah,
you know they're not going to give you any of it.
Yeah.
Are you happy about it?
Yeah.
Because the attorney gonna be calling them.
It's easier to be happy for people you don't dislike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's harder. Or like if somebody's done something to you and then something good, that's the harder one.
Yeah.
Very hard.
Yeah. So God favors those who want good things to happen, who are seeking good, who are seeking for the good of everybody.
I've found too that I think because there's so much of the opposite in the world, when you do good for people, you have good intentions, it's almost like, well, like they almost don't believe it.
Mm.
Like you did this with no agenda, just because you wanted to. Like you give me credit for the boss. What do you want? No, just because you wanted to. Like they almost expect that they owe you something because it's not natural in this world.
Right. Because everyone's just seeking to benefit themselves
Self,
or the people they're responsible for, people in their circle.
How
of
it's gonna
influence.
affect them, or yeah.
So you have Proverbs 12:2.
Good people obtain favor from the Lord, but he condemns those who devise wicked schemes.
Right. So if a good man gets favor. So if you're seeking good, if you're doing good, you get favor. If you come up with wicked plans against other people, then you lose your favor from God. Okay, so number 3 is knowing God's ways.
What was 2 seeking what?
Seeking good,
Seeking good, that's right. And 3 was
knowing God's ways.
knowing God's ways.
So Exodus 33:13 says, "Now therefore I pray you, if I have found favor in your sight, let me know your ways, that I may know you, so that I might find favor in your sight. Consider too that this nation is your people." So Moses is saying that he wants to know God's ways, but he wants to know God's ways so that he can find favor in God's sight. So he knows that knowing God's ways will give him favor. So favor is a result of knowing God's ways. Knowing God's ways is understanding God's character. He wanted to understand who God is. So he wanted to know God's ways, how God acts, how God thinks. He wanted to know God's ways. So trying to understand God's ways brings you favor. So as an example, just imagine you had 2 nephews or 2 nieces. And one of them, they wanted to know about you, wanted to know how your day was. They wanted to know what makes you happy. They wanted to know, they wanted to understand things about you. And the other one, they pretty much ignore you until they need something.
Yeah.
And they ask you for something. Would you kind of favor one of them over the other?
Yeah. You want to be around one.
Yeah,
one
you'd
or the
want to be
other.
around one or the other.
Yeah.
You'd want to listen when one of them talks more than the other
Buy
one.
them ice cream.
You want to buy them ice cream. You want to do something for them.
Yeah.
Because the other one doesn't really care about you as a person.
No, it's just selfish.
So it's the same with God. It's like we want to understand God. It's not like we want to understand them so I can get favor, or I want to
Right.
understand your ways for some benefit for me. But if it's like, if you genuinely want to understand God,
Mhm.
then God favors you. And so he says, so it's not for himself. So Moses wanted favor, though. When Moses got the favor, he didn't get favor to gain anything for himself. He didn't use his favor to gain anything himself. He used his favor to aid the Israelites. He didn't use it to get any material gain or any happiness for himself. So he had that direct favor, that direct access, that direct communication with God. But we never saw him asking for anything. He didn't ask for a new robe, new sandals. You know, can I get some bling on my cane? He didn't.
I bling the whole game.
He didn't.
You know what? It makes me think of like pastors or preachers that are very, say, Rick Warren, Billy Graham. God gave them a platform, but because they knew that they had a message for people, it wasn't about them.
Yeah.
And I think when you
Yeah.
recognize that God gives you a platform and He gives you congregations and millions of people to listen to you, because they recognize that their message and the favor that God has given them is for other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you recognize it's for other people, then, and it's not just to benefit you,
Yeah.
or that's not the main focus.
Right.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
to serve God is the focus. Yeah. Yeah. But so this is trying to understand God. So we notice he says, if I have found favor. So he wasn't necessarily sure that he had found favor, even though he had communication with God. So you can talk to God even if you don't have favor. So having favor isn't a prerequisite to being able to talk to God, communicate with God. But Moses cared about God himself. Someone have Psalms 37,
I
4?
have that. It says, "Take delight in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart."
Okay. So are you delighted with your relationship with the Lord? Does the Lord bring you happiness? So delight yourself in the Lord. So or is your relationship based on getting something else? So do you like yourself in the Lord, or do you like yourself in what the Lord could do for you? So if the delighting yourself is in the Lord, then He will give you the desires of your heart. If you delight yourself in the desires of your heart, then that's something different. So if you're delighting yourself in the Lord, so if you're knowing the Lord, understanding the Lord, then He will give you the desires of your heart. But it could also be seen as He will put the desires in your heart. He will give you the desires in your heart. So He will, instead of the desires you put in your heart, He will give you the desires in your heart.
His desires.
His desires, yeah. So which is better, to have what you want, or to have God change what you want to what He wants?
B.
B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so delight yourself in the Lord. Knowing God's ways. That's number 3. Okay, so numbers 4 and 5 are humility and fearing God will bring you favor. Yeah, so we saw that knowing God's ways will bring you favor. Now you have Isaiah 66:2.
Isaiah 6:2. Yes, I do. Has not my hand made all these things, and so they came into being, declares the Lord. These are the ones I look on with favor, those who are humble and contrite spirit, and who tremble at my word.
Okay, so God looks at with favor the ones who are humble, have a contrite spirit, and the ones who tremble at His word. So humble is the Hebrew word ani, means poor, afflicted, humble, lowly. Contrite is the word nakeh, means smitten, stricken. It literally means to be maimed, or it figuratively means to be dejected. So humble and contrite references a state of feeling lowness, a state of feeling poor or lowly as compared to God.
As compared to God.
So it's the opposite of pride. So as you're comparing yourself to God, you're not comparing yourself with other people. You're comparing yourself with God. So it's a state where you see God as higher than you. So you see yourself lowly to God. You see God as deserving of worship. It's where you believe that God's ways are better than your ways. So if you're humble, if you're proud, you think you know how to fix it. You know the solution. You know the way to get the goal. If you're humble, you think, okay, no, God knows better than me.
Yeah.
If God said do it this way, then that way must be better. God's way must be better than my way. And then tremble at his word means revering God, fearing God. So trembling at his words means you see God as holy. You highly value God's command. You have respect for God. You esteem him as worthy of worship, worthy of praise. So you tremble at his word. It's something beyond me. It's something above me. It's something more magnificent than me. God's word is something to be valued. It's holy. It's something holy. It's not just words. It's not just literary. So if you think you know better than God, then you won't receive this favor. So those who view God's ways as better, wiser, and more important than their own ways receive favor. So if you esteem God at a higher place, then you receive favor. So those are 4 and 5.
Okay, what's the fifth one?
Fearing God.
Fearing God. Okay.
Fearing God.
Thank you.
Number 6 is love and kindness. Love and kindness. So you have Proverbs 3 through 4. There you go.
Okay. Let love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Then you will win favor and a good name in the sight of God and man.
Okay. So this is saying love and faithfulness. Some transitions say love and truth. Some transitions say mercy and kindness. So this is love and truth. This is love and truth, or love and kindness, or love and faithfulness to who?
To God and others. Wait. Love, faithfulness to others.
Yeah, this is to others.
Right?
So this is not to God. This is to other people. So if you're loving and kind to other people, then you will win favor and a good name. So a good name is a good reputation. So if you're loving and kind to everyone, then you receive favor from God and you get a good reputation. So the pulpit commentary describes it as mutual outward help, forgiveness of offenses, and sympathy of feelings, which leads to an interchange of thought, so to the development of our spiritual life.
So that's like what that is in action, right? Not just I'm going to be all lovey-dovey with you. It's going to be when you mess up, I'm going to forgive you.
Right.
When you go through something, I'm going to hurt with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like that in action.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's loving and kindness. Yeah, in action.
Yeah.
And it's and they combine that with the out seeking good. So it's loving and kindness. So those who are loving and kind towards other people receive favor from God, but it says from God and men. So the others were favor from God. This is favor from God and men.
Oh, so it is a thing, favor for men when you walk in kindness and love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is just a proverb, wisdom telling you that this is how you get favor from people. So this is even without the aid of God. This is just your loving and kindness will draw favor from other people. So these are ways to get favor from God, and this one tells you how to get favor from other people. And that's actually a future lesson, favor from God and man.
I see that.
Yeah, so loving and kindness. So if we walk in these things, we get favor from God, we get favor. And then number 7, which we have to work on, is marriage.
Look around the room.
Marriage. Oh boy.
Ouch.
Yeah, so
Brothers, we're all disobedient right here.
they're not here today.
Yeah.
Proverbs 18:22. Yeah, that Eric.
This is, remember, he who find a wife find favor with the Lord.
Yeah, very well. That's it.
Yeah. I look at Proverbs 21:19. It's better live in the desert than have a nagging wife.
Yes. So we'll start with 18:22. It says, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord." So you get favor from the Lord. So
Yeah.
being married brings you favor.
Oh.
But there are some that say that it implies a good wife.
Yeah. That's how I feel with one.
Oh, yeah.
It says a wife.
Yeah.
Some say it
Not
implies a
just a
good wife.
hot wife,
Yeah.
a good-hearted, Jesus-loving wife.
Proverbs 31 wife.
So there are many places in the Bible that warn of the negative consequences of
Yeah.
marrying a bad wife.
Right. Ooh, that is.
So what's the one you said? Proverbs 21.
19.
What does it say?
Is it? Oh, I got it right here.
That's your memorized
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. It says that it's better to live in a desert than with a quarrelsome and nagging wife.
Okay. So that's some good wisdom.
Yeah.
Paul had another reason it's better to stay single. That one is saying it's better than marry a quarrel.
Yeah.
So, but so God does give you favor. So being married, so the wife and the husband, I imagine, the husband and the wife would have favor because they're one now. So being married brings you favor, but there are places where it talks about negative consequences to marrying the wrong person. So I don't know if that's
I don't know, it's not written anywhere, but there's a type of favor when you're single too because God becomes your everything, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's not that I feel so spoiled by God.
Right.
You know, because He's my everything, you know,
Yeah,
at this point in my
yeah.
life.
well, if he can be your everything, or you can turn to other things to fulfill you, like
Drugs?
drugs, just partying, or just hedonism, or just jumping from guy to guy to fulfill you, or depends on what you turn to. If you turn to God, then that probably will get you favor. So it depends. So if you do it the right way,
Right.
but I guess it's probably easier to not do that. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's troubles you have when you're married as well, but
They're different.
they're different. But but you got somebody there all the time.
Yeah. Just snap you back when you're like,
Yeah.
Or they can snap you out of like their example here. They could be the ones
literally slap you.
No, I mean they could be the ones that cause you the problem.
Get a
Yeah.
shout out.
They could be the one that cause you the
Oh,
problem.
they're
Like
making you
some people at peace by
snap.
themselves,
Yes.
and now you got somebody
Yes.
nagging all the time.
Oh,
But-
time never stop.
Yeah.
But yeah. So if you're turning to God and He is your everything, then it's good. Okay. So there's an example. There are examples of so marriage. It says the marriage brings you favor. So the act of marriage itself brings favor. So there are I guess there's things that could maybe negate that if you don't marry wisely.
Right. It could be the opposite.
Yeah, you have Malachi 2:11 and 13. Like marrying an unbeliever.
11 to 13. Let's see.
Yes.
Judah has been unfaithful. A detestable thing has been committed in Israel and in Jerusalem. Judah has desecrated the sanctuary the Lord loves by marrying women who worship a foreign god. As for the man who does this, whoever he may be, may the Lord remove him from the tents of Jacob, even though he brings an offering to the Lord Almighty. Oh, 13. Another thing you do, you flood the Lord's altar with tears. You weep and wail because he no longer looks with favor on your offerings or accepts them with pleasure from your hands.
Okay, so there are situations where, so if you marry Judah, they're considered unfaithful to God because they marry women who worshiped other gods. So marrying an unbeliever will cause, and so God no longer looked at their offering as favorable. He no longer accepts them with pleasure from their hands. So they lost favor with God because they married someone who worshiped other gods. So we saw last week that God was going to kill the Israelites for worshiping foreign gods. So, because that's an abomination to God. So, I mean, it's pretty bad if God wants to kill you for it. You know, he doesn't like that. You know, it's not too many things he want to kill you for. So, if you're marrying someone who does the thing he wants to kill you for, and now you become one,
Oh, yeah.
you definitely draw God's displeasure. So now part of you is worshiping another God because you two are one. So part of you in this abomination, you become an abomination to God.
It's a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal, and that's what he's saying, right?
Yeah.
But I think that, there's a lot of marriages that are in turmoil, and people are like, "Well, what happened?" But it's a lot of it is that the idea that I was gonna change them, or we were gonna do this together. But it's a huge deal.
Right. So I mean, so this is saying that it's not saying that God is going to make it miserable. He's just saying that you're going to lose your favor. So he's not going to necessarily cause it to fail, but he's not going to, you can lose that. You're going to lose that hedge of protection.
Yeah, you're going to miss out on what could have been.
Right. So being married brings you favor, so you may still have some favor from that. But we see that there are exceptions based upon the person you marry. So exceptions you mentioned, exception we read here. There could be things that still cause other negative consequences if you don't use wisdom. Let's see. Any thoughts?
I feel like I asked about the whole having favor from man. I feel like I've had favor from managers and bosses, and I was wondering, like, and I know people have noticed, like, well, what do you do? They always love you, whatever. But I'm like, I get it now, and it's most, and I think part of it is because I tend to like to believe that I walk in love and kindness, but there's also sincerity, and I think I've always been very open and very clear about what I think, and I feel like that has brought favor over my life, and I've had a very transparent relationship with my manager or boss. And I feel like some people don't understand it, and I don't do anything extra, or, like it's up to them or anything. But I think that just it's a natural flow that just happens. I wondered about that because I'm like, sometimes I think it's one specific one, but then the next one and the next one, I'm like, I don't know.
So it's, so it could be seeking good, it could be because being humble, it could be, so those bring favor from God. And loving kindness explicitly brings favor from men, although the favor from God could cause people to favor you.
Right.
But the favor with God and men does clearly cause people to favor you. Okay. So we see the favor of God is brought on by being righteous. So living righteous, living holy brings you favor. Seeking God, seeking good. So seeking to do good, wanting good for others, not trying to harm anybody, wanting everyone to benefit in good ways, draws favor from God. knowing God's ways brings favor from God. So understanding the way God acts, trying to understand God's character, not for the benefit of yourself, but just wanting to genuinely get to understand God brings favor. And that's not, so that's not something that we talk about a lot. Being humble and contrite draws favor. So viewing God's ways as better, holier, wiser than your ways brings favor. Fearing and revering God, so having respect for God, esteeming God as holy and worthy of worship brings favor. Being married brings favor, preferably to the right person.
Right person, yes. Right family. Yes, they do.
Those bring the favor of God. Showing love and kindness brings the favor of God and man. So we know favor comes directly from God. So favor gives you God's attention. So if we want favor, we should seek to understand God's ways, seek His face, not His hands. We should pray for a heart that knows His heart. We should pray that you don't hold yourself in high esteem. Treat people with love and kindness, even those that don't have any ability to benefit you in any way. Pray for a heart that breaks for what breaks God's heart. Pray that you seek Him. Seek His will and not your own. So we want to gain favor, you want to pray that your desire is no longer to pray for the favor for yourself. And that's the lesson.
Oh, wow. Very excellent.
Yes.
Not that much discussion.
So walking away, let's seek the truth, let's live the life.
Yeah.